If you clicked on this video, chances are you've been struggling in the markets for some time now, and it's probably gotten to the point where you're feeling discouraged. You're wondering, if this is even worth it. Probably even thinking about quitting. There's things you're doing right now that are holding you back, and I'm just making this video to give you guys awareness so that you can break through that glass ceiling. First is that you just lack discipline. When price moves with strength in a particular direction, you just chase it because it seems so strong, absolutely has to keep going. But this is a terrible way to think. The market is gonna move significantly all the time. It doesn't mean that every single move that happens you have to be a part of. That thinking is really gonna get you caught in a vicious cycle of buying tops, selling the lows, different things like that ultimately aren't gonna breed you being a profitable trader. The market doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to move in a particular direction. So just get all of that out of your head. Next is that you don't journal consistently. You go through phases where you might, but for the most part, you go days, sometimes even weeks without reviewing the trades and the mistakes that you've made. This is literally the equivalent of shooting at a target and you're missing repeatedly and in the same ways, but you're making zero adjustments. How could you possibly expect to hit the bullseye like that? It's impossible. You don't filter out the noise. The rise of the internet really opened up the floodgates for information to just move at a rapid pace. It's constantly coming out. There's constantly something else to pay attention to, and it's just not gonna stop. As that kind of impacts you as a trader, is really just information overload. Sometimes there's just so much out there. You can read, just about everything, watch just about everything from the convenience of your phone, and it can result in you just kind of having too much information that you try to act on all of it at once, or just kind of pick maybe somebody that you trust more than another, and you just go with what they say. A lot of traders allow that information overload to dictate their decision making in the markets. You look to a YouTuber, a Discord, an article, some type of op-ed piece that you can just copy a trade idea from. There's freedom in independent thinking. It's so important that you develop your own thesis when approaching the market, and you actually have integrity while doing it. Think about the tests you cheated on when you were a kid. You didn't deserve, a good grade, but you still got it, and you knew you didn't deserve it. But the ones you simply knew the material on, maybe you studied, or maybe you were just naturally good at the information, whatever the case was, you carried a sense of pride with those wins. It's the same thing with trading. Having your own thought process in developing trade ideas will naturally breed confidence. Next is you trade when you're not mentally present. If you're going through something in life, in your relationship, or even something like much simpler like you being sick, just waking up groggy, you're not gonna perform well. These situations just aren't optimal conditions for you to execute in. They're actually hindrances that are really holding you back from peak performance. You gotta acknowledge that when it's happening, and just take a step back and recognize that it will pass. It's not gonna last forever. If you're sick, take the time to heal up. The market's still gonna be here. If your mind is feeling foggy, maybe skip today's session, get some rest that night, and come back the next day well rested. Maybe wake up early, get some sunlight, exercise, that always helps me, and approach it confidently. With things like relationship issues, those occupy mental space, and it results in your mind just feeling cluttered. You don't want to be thinking about other things that make you feel emotions, you perceive as negative while you're trying to make trading decisions. It's just bad for business. Lastly, you study people instead of the market. You watch YouTube videos or social media content of people who are successful in the stock market and try to implement bits and pieces of what they do. At times, that's okay, but it's not okay if it's the only thing. You have to study the actual market and not just, the gurus you see on the internet. Dedicate time to diving into the charts and study what's happened in the past. A little quote that I'm gonna just drop in right here is that, history is the best teacher, but only if you actually read into it. By studying what the market has done in the past, you prepare yourself for what's to come in the future. If you grind at this one thing, your mind will just become accustomed to seeing the patterns, you know, the ebbs and flows of the market, and you'll be able to get much better results way faster. If any of this hit home, it's definitely your sign to just tighten up and really take trading seriously. The market is always going to reward the prepared, so stay disciplined, stay patient, and I'll see y'all in the next video.